Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. Welcome to Friday, September 27th, 2024. We're living in the future, I tell you. We're living in the future. How you guys doing? Welcome to Massive Iron Live. I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be combing through some science-based stuff today. We're going to be combing through your questions. We're going to be looking at lengthened partials again and how the studies don't show anything positive or beneficial one way or the other. Do we have to keep beating this thing to death? I guess so, right? How you guys doing? Before we dive into things, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, please tune in. We don't want to work. We just want to talk lifting. If your question doesn't go through, it's not me throttling you, so try shortening your question. Sometimes longer questions won't go through on the old YouTubes. And you can also try rewording your question. Sometimes YouTube might filter your comment because of naughty or inappropriate words or whatever the system does. That's not me. So if it doesn't go through, just try redoing that. What else we got? If you're tuning in late and you want to send me a question, you can always go over to Instagram, Up and the Barman. Send me a DM with your questions. I answer everything. Now, I do have a new Discord server. We actually were on Discord. Team Massive was actually on Discord many years ago. And we moved to a private website and recently moved back because Discord added forums. So there is a link in my previous video to the Massive Iron Discord channel. If you would like to join us, it's free for the basic stuff. I don't know, it's like $1.99 if you want to get access to form checks and asking me questions on a daily basis. Very trivial, minimal amount. So how's everybody doing, right? Jeff Nippard made a video about, I don't know, how did it go? Like everybody's being critical of how he trains and something like that. So I see we got a question about lengthened partials. I'm prepared to answer that and dive into that a little bit. I have one question. This is an honest question and a sincere question. I'm not in the business of trying to bash on people, but I've been doing this for a very long time. And one thing that bothers me a little bit in the industry is when you see a lifter build his base a specific way, right? Build your base a specific way using the basics, using the proven things that work, using the time-tested stuff we talk about here on this channel. And some folks don't consider this a science-based channel because I'm not gagging on the latest study or running to kiss the ass of the latest person making the latest study. I'm not a reactionary buffoon, so therefore I'm not considered one of the cool kids in the science club. So what the hell was I talking about? What the hell was I babbling on about? Well, one thing that bothers me is when you see lifters that build their muscle using the basics, and then they get a platform like this, and then all of a sudden they are pushing other techniques or methods that are completely different from the conventional basics that work for everybody, that have always worked. I see some interesting comments that float by. One of them was that the only reason we are looking at everything that worked, the only reason everything worked the way it did the last 70 years is because basically everybody was on steroids, which is an absolutely stupid comment. It's absolutely not true. It's sheltered. For those of you guys that don't know me, I started in this industry at my own website, Muscle and Brawn. Don't go over there. I don't own it. I got hired by Muscle and Strength. I worked for other websites. I got to basically, for a while, interview the top naturals in the industry for quite a while. Just the top naturals. I worked for a site that wasn't involved with steroid lifting, and I got to interview a lot of the top naturals. and I got to see how they train. I got to interview them. It was a great way to make a living. And when you get people to come along that say history-based training is all just a landscape of drugs, they're idiots. There's no other way to phrase it. They're living in a biased tube where that's all they see. And the point of what they were trying to make is we have to pay attention to the latest science-based stuff, because everything in the past 70 years was just developed under the influence of steroids, which is absolutely ridiculous. It is completely biased and naive. But we're going to get into the whole lengthened partials thing again, if it's Jeff Nippard versus the world. And I'm going to show you information. You guys can decide what you want, but I'm going to show you information, non-biased, that basically says it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not any better, not any worse. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? All right. So before we get started, I do have a little bit of time this weekend. So if any of you need a custom workout, please head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. I have time to do a couple custom workouts. I generally don't, but you can head over to my website at superlivingtoday.com. Search custom. I charge only $69 for a custom workout. It's going to be based on a bunch of questions I ask you, and equipment, injury history, preferences, split preferences, etc. I can knock those out pretty efficiently. So if you're interested, please check out my website or just hit me up on Instagram at Ben the Barman. Also, coaching, I have one coaching slot open. I have an individual that I've been working with for 3 years. He is from Australia, one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with, and I'm very sad to see him go. He is moving on to an internship and getting into the real world and taking a break from coaching for a while. So if any of you need some help, if you're struggling, you just can't unlock the puzzle, let me do it for you. Coaching is only $89.40 after the first month. I coach for a living. I'm not a check-in once a week guy. I'd love to work with you. If you think about it, it's a pretty decent investment for what you get if you're spending money each month on supplements or whatnot. I would have you consider taking a break from all that kind of stuff and investing in yourself and investing in coaching. It's what I do for a living. It's how I put food on the table. I want to work with motivated people. So even if you just have questions about coaching, please come over there and check out the coaching tab. I was voted the 2023 Online Coach of the Year, beating out 400,000 other people. It was a big honor. Didn't expect it, but I work my ass off. So let's get into things. Let's get into the world of lengthened partials. I'm kind of hoping I have a question today about frequency versus body part splits, because there's a new meta-analysis that I was combing through that still says the same as the old meta-analysis, that it doesn't matter. But again, we like to cherry pick information. What the study basically said, and I'm going to get into your questions real quick, basically said that frequency doesn't matter and micro nuances in volume doesn't matter. What matters? Hard training. There we are. We're right back at the baseline. We're right back at what we've been talking about forever on the Massive Iron channel. My first book over 10 years ago was discussed the value of maximizing every set, or making every set count, which is at its essence hard training. So anyway, Big Jimmy is first today. When I hit that PR on bench earlier this week, I was overcome with high and emotion. It was a lot like the first time I got the runner's high. Any science about why? Yeah, the science is all about it means something to you, and I'm not being dismissive, but I get that all the time, man. I mean, we invest a lot, energy-wise and emotionally, in what we're doing, and it should mean something to you. Your health and your fitness and your accomplishments, you should be invested in them. We don't need any science to tell us that, my friend. What you did was a wonderful thing, and I applaud you. You did great. But, you know, we need to be passionate about something when it comes to exercise, when it comes to fitness. People always ask me, what do I do cardio? What should I do for cardio? What should I do for this? What kind of split should I use? Use something that motivates you, right? People will tell you all the time, all these influencers, these fitness salaries, don't do this exercise, don't do that exercise. And they're trying to take candy from a baby, telling you not to do exercises you like to do. We always have to forget that stuff. We want to do what motivates us. We want to do what drives us. We want to chase our passions. This is far greater than any scientific nonsense. We don't need to rely on it. I'm not being dismissive of science, but chase your passion. Life is short. Do what you enjoy and do it hard. It's as simple as that. And getting emotional about an accomplishment. I used to go to bed a lot thinking about a 2,000 pound total, or a 700 pound deadlift, or a 450 pound bench. I still do. This stuff still means something to me. It's part of my, part of my soul. It's part of who I am. And there's no shame in that game. Everybody needs to be about something. And this little ball we're on called Earth is spinning round and round quickly. And you really honestly don't know how many days you get. So do what you love. What more is there to life? I'm not saying that's the only thing to life, but do what you love to do, man, and invest in it, right? Andy, afternoon team massive. I think I've run out of questions. That's impossible, Andy. I'm gonna have you go over to Chat GPT and ask for 5 random questions. Go over there right now. Take care of business, right? Let's see, Wilkie. Maybe I pronounced that incorrectly. Hopefully not. Hatfield squats feel much better for me, and I can progress it much more than normal squats and go lower. That's great. Your body weight's a little bit forward, so that might be a little bit better for you leverage-wise. Way more motion in astergrass. Is it still good to replace? Yeah, absolutely. There are no magical exercises. Squats are one of the hardest exercises for the average individual to master. You don't see this on social media because, quite frankly, not a lot of these influencers or coaches or whatever they proclaim to be actually train people in the real world. That's not a dig. It's just the way it is. They will be making videos about squats and they don't understand. I understand this because I see this. You guys come to me and at least 2/3 of you are struggling with your squat, and it's my job to help you fix that. And it's not always an easy solution. It takes time. It takes time to work with people. But I can tell you there is this kind of false belief that everybody is just amazing naturally at squats, et cetera, and it's not true at all. So there are no magic exercises. What I teach in the Massive Iron world is we want to put together a quality group of exercises. Does it have a good progression opportunity? Yes, Hatfield Squats has a nice, solid progression opportunity. Does it feel good for you? Does it feel natural? Does it feel quality? Is it not beating up your body? Is it something you can use in the long run? Yes, then let's use that. That is something you can definitely use that. There's no reason not to. A good progression opportunity. You can run it in the long run. It's not beating up the body. Certainly you need other exercises in place, a well-rounded program, but that can absolutely be your cornerstone. And let's see, I don't want to screw up this name. Banachowskowitz. Sorry, just being silly. Banana Owie Chopalupi. Bananawi Klopiak. Sorry, we're trying. We're just being facetious, not bashing on you, my friend. Hey, you saw what happened. Scientifically based lifter YouTubers are withdrawing from long partials. No, only a couple are. And the best way to train now, flip back. Let's get into it, shall we? A couple are. There's a lot of people out there, guys, that aren't involved in this little niche that make a lot of videos. There are a lot of important coaches and voices out there that are analyzing this study a little bit differently, and we just need to be equipped with this. So Jeff Nippard basically made a video. I didn't, you guys probably watched more of this video than I did, but the long and short of it is that it's him against the world, long length partials. We conducted our own study, or lengthened partials. I like lengthened partials, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so I want you guys to understand that there are a lot of other coaches out there that you need to follow that are saying the same thing I am. Now, I'm not trying to get you to just, follow me, but we need to balance information. I'm not trying to get you to lockstep in what I'm saying. What I am trying to give you guys is a balanced approach, right? When it comes to building muscle, going all in on, lengthened partials, all in, is idiotic. I would lead this discussion by asking you and asking Jeff Nippard honest question. I want to know. I'm not asking a leading question. Did Jeff build his base using lengthened partials? Did Jeff build his base using conventional training? Are lengthened partials just somebody that came to the dance late and we're enamored with them? Does the study that Jeff Nippard talked about really say that lengthened partials are the stuff? Or is there some bias? So here's Dr. Soko, all right? And his real name is Sokolowski, Sokolow. Educator, runs PhysiqueU, somebody I really respect, somebody curiously who likes to call out Paul Carter, Mr. Know-It-All. For that reason alone, you should check into his information. But all that aside, I'm going to play some information we're going to discuss this really quickly, just as a counterpoint to Mr. Jeff Nippard. And it's me against the world. And you guys can decide what you want to do with your training. Okay, so let's just listen here. Let me make sure I got this.
Today, because it is getting completely misconstrued on social media. The paper yesterday compared training in a lengthened position, aka doing lengthened partials only, versus training in a full range of motion. The full range of motion encompasses both the lengthened and shortened position. So basically, we have lengthened training versus lengthened and shortened training. The difference is the addition of the shortened portion of the rep for the full ROM group. The results indicated similar gains between the lengthened only training and the full range of motion training. Remember, the full range of motion group included the shortened portion of the rep. Doing the shortened portion of the rep did not add any extra gains. The shortened position produced no additional anabolism compared to the lengthened position alone. Therefore, the lengthened position of the rep is the most anabolic portion of the rep, even for trained lifters. Performing the lengthened portion of the rep drives hypertrophic outcomes. The present study is not referring to a past meta-analysis, which a lot of people are alluding to. It's simply highlighting the effective portion of the rep, regardless of your training experience. This is the lengthened part of the rep that includes the stretch. Let's go over the.
All right, so a lot to unpack there, right? I'm going to go over this briefly, what he had to say in the comments, because I think it's important. And any of you that want this post, you can just go look at Dr._Soko or Physique. It's one of his recent posts. This is the paper that everybody's talking about. If you look in the screenshot where it's referenced, and I'm going to mute this and see if I can stop this real quick. You see Milo Wolf's name is first, and I believe Dr. Pack is second. I can't, it's a little bit short. Okay, so just for reference, we got, the gang, Milo Wolf, etc. The paper from yesterday is getting interpreted 500 different ways. And look, curiously enough, Alex Leonidas is in tune with this as well. Just to show you, I'm not cherry picking some random coach off the internet. The variety of interpretations highlight who has formal academic training and who doesn't. Okay, so basically saying there's a lot of people interpreting this study many different ways. And he's saying politely, when you look at their interpretations, you can kind of tell who has formal academic training and who's pulling bias out of their big brown Kazuski, right? We can say the study compared lengthened partials versus full ROM. Everyone's favorite word, lengthened partials. The gains were similar between the groups. Doing the shortened portion of the rep versus full ROM did not add any additional hypertrophic benefit. He's looking at the study, the results of the study. He's not sharing an opinion. Therefore, the lengthened portion of the rep was responsible for the gains. The lengthened portion. Since the shortened portion didn't add anything, it's giving you the same response as the lengthened. Therefore, the lengthened portion of the rep was responsible for the gains. The shortened portion delivered no extra growth. No extra growth, not speculation. That's the study. Remember Jeff Nippert versus the world. It's probably going to anytime we talk about this stuff, it triggers some people. They come after me. Why do you hate? Why are you hating on Jeff Nippert? Why you hate? We're not hating on anybody. We are talking intelligently about the information. If you get offended that we're talking intelligently or trying to unpack things, then you probably need to sort your own stuff out. I'll say that politely. If you examine the totality of the literature, training your muscles at longer lengths and ideally stretching your muscles at some point, rep will be more anabolic than training your muscles in a shortened position where a deep stretch is absent. We've seen lengthened partials outperform full ROM, Wolf et al. 2023, but that was not the case here. But again, the present study highlights the effectiveness of the lengthened portion of the rep. Regardless of your training experience, beginners or advanced, the lengthened portion of the rep, which includes the stretch, delivers big gains. Okay? So basically, relax. Full range of motion works. The lengthened portion of the rep works. We don't need to get funky. We don't need to get confused. This study, if you want to do them, go ahead. Just have a good mix of exercises. But just understand this particular study that's being positioned as whatever by a certain number of people actually showed there's no benefit. We cannot say we do not have enough data to say lengthened partials beat full ROMs. But we do have enough data to say training muscles in a lengthened position will drive greater hypertrophy than training muscles in a shorter position. I would advise using full ROM and picking exercises where you can stretch your muscle at some point in the rep. So if you're doing like a curl, you're doing like a seated incline curl, you can use some of these exercises. We don't need to get crazy, right? But if you want to introduce some of this, use some exercises that have a stretch at some portion of the lengthened part of the exercise. Does that make sense? We cannot say, no, he's going on about the specific study. So good stuff. And it's good to equip yourself, with as much information as possible, because in many cases, you're being bullied scientifically to, jump on board. And you're thinking there's like 3 or 4 major players that are on board here. It has to be the way. It has to be the way. And there are a lot of other people out there that do not agree. I was trying to find the information on frequency. So hold on one second. That's a really interesting topic. And I believe it was from July. I was looking at it before I came on. Let's see. Just give me 1 second here. You can tell he doesn't really care for Paulie C, which is a high plus in my world. I don't really care for Paulie C either. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Stretch mediated hypertrophy, liver enzymes. We're almost there. Let me just see. That was August. Okay. It goes back to July. Training frequency, maximal training volume. Was this it? That was August 15th. It was from July 15th. I know I'm boring you guys to death here for a second, but I really want to show you something important because we get a lot of questions about training frequency and volume. And this was a really good study. I think it was, okay, here we go. So we're going to stop it right here. We're going to get away from this specific question. And I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit trail just for educational purposes, and we'll dive back into the questions. So this is a meta-analysis of frequency of hard training. Basically, let me just backtrack. Basically, this is going to show you that what's most important is hard training, not frequency. Not trying to add some ridiculous amount of volume and compensate with volume. The important thing is a reasonable exercise selection, hard training, and a practical amount of volume. Let's take a listen, shall we?
The meta-analysis to date just came out, and it concluded that intensity, aka lifting moderate and heavy loads, is the primary element that determines gains. Furthermore, the meta-analysis also discussed frequency and volume, which are hot topics on social media. The meta-analysis stated, and I quote, "The influence of training frequency and volume on strength and hypertrophy has been assessed in several previous meta-analyses. The results obtained herein were mixed but showed limited evidence that these factors were influential. This means there's not a lot of evidence to suggest frequency and volume impact gains. Those aren't my words either. Those are the words of Dr. Volume himself, Brad Schoenfeld, who wrote the paper. According to the data, frequency and volume are overrated and take a back seat to that."
All right. So basically, there was a meta-analysis a while back, a year and a half ago with Dr. Schoenfeld. I believe it was at the beginning of 2023, where it showed that frequency didn't matter as long as weekly volume was equated. And lately, there's been some pushback against that because of one random study or whatever. But this meta-analysis, this is from July 15th, and you can find everything here. This is on Dr. Soko's page if you want to find it from July 15th. It basically showed that frequency doesn't matter, that trying to push yourself for crazy amounts of volume doesn't matter. What matters is hard training and progressive overload. Can you imagine that? From the unscientific massive iron world, we are still grounded in science. Anyway, let's move on. Paladin. If you were to prep a bodybuilder for a competition, would the approach differ from normal clients? Absolutely. The last client I had that competed came in the most ripped at his show. I'm happy to say it. I'm not the world's most experienced bodybuilding coach, but I will say I do have some experience in this realm and am continuing to learn. Now, it's absolutely different. You have you have a very specific goal. With a 10-pound mini cut, basically you can drive any road as long as you get there. You want to go to point A to point B. The goal is just to get to point B, right? With a bodybuilder for a competition, it has to be very focused. You have to really be dialed in. There's not a lot of room for shenanigans. So, you have to make sure things are on the lane. You have to look for you have to make micro changes. You might have to do reduction of food choices over time, kind of narrow the lane a little bit. You might have to start adding in a little bit more cardio slowly over. There's a lot of things. You have to be very in tune with what is going on and be willing to make adjustments. Big Joe B. from Team Massive, we'll climb them on. Good morning. Harris from Team Massive. Howdy, Team Massive. Happy weekend. How much daily body weight fluctuation is considered normal? Well, first thing you guys need to always remember is that you want to weigh in first thing in the morning. I like to, after I urinate, that's my rule. The other thing, number, 2, not to be crude, I don't worry about that as much because you can't, it's easier to get up, urinate, step on the scale, right? Number 2 is going to happen when it happens. So that's a little bit more, it's more consistent just urinating. There's going to be fluctuation based on carb intake, electrolyte intake, sleep, stress.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
There's going to be variations according to a lot of this stuff. Sleep, stress, carbs, food choices. Even if you're eating the same thing every day, consuming the exact same amount of water, sleeping the exact amount of hours, same amount of hours every day, you're going to see water weight fluctuation. It could be up to 2 or even 3 pounds. You could even see some mild dehydration. So nothing to worry about. Definitely normal. I would have to see the data, but if you really think your scale is broken, then just hit me up on Team Massive and we can look at the data. Or anywhere, if any of you are out there are concerned that your data is way too up and down, just hit me up. Example, speaking in those kgs, 64.5, 64.3, 65, that's normal. That's normal. That's like 1 pound, that's like 2 pounds variance. That's normal. Nothing wrong with your scale. 2 to 3 pounds, kilo to kilo and a half is very normal. Sometimes you're going to get aberrant numbers outside of that, but that's absolutely okay. Is there a reason why you still haven't told the truth about your doping? Doping, yeah, I do a lot of doping. I do tons of doping, and you never intend to do so. I just had my testosterone levels checked last week, and they are 560. My free test is a little bit low. I'm not sure why. As far as like arm size, my arm size is about an inch lower than basement bodybuilding and GVS. I'm not sure why. Even my strength levels aren't anywhere near what these modern lifters are. I'm not sure why this is like your life's mission. If you think like for some reason, people like this think I'm out here abusing drugs, which is whatever. You can think whatever you want. I don't have time for kids. I don't know what exactly you're trying to prove, and what exactly you think I'm doing. If you think like I have some elaborate cycle where I'm doing testosterone and DECA and Tren and HGH, the only thing I can say is, that's on you, dude. I get my testosterone levels checked. I've stated in the past that I think back around 2004, I saw a TRT doctor because my testosterone levels were like 170. I tried a patch for like a week. Back in the day when I had muscle and brawn, there was a lot of pro-hormone talk. I think I took a couple of pro-hormone pills back in the day. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like being nearly 57 years old that I haven't been tempted and that but I'm not on this pristine, live your life perfect. Have you ever taken one pro-hormone? Have you ever taken a week of TRT? Of course I have, right? But that's a big difference between somebody that spends their life lying about TRT and really takes Monster. What the fuck do you think I'm doing, dude? I mean, seriously. Just tell me, what do you think? Instead of just coming on here taking like silly pot shots, leave a comment. I want honest opinion. What do you think I do? That's all I want to know. What do you think I do? Do you think I run around taking massive cycles? I mean, I had my testosterone levels checked last week. They were 560. My free testosterone's on the low end. I posted that on Instagram, and one comment said, "Oh, that's after PCT." Like, guys, I'm almost 57 years old. Do you think that's what I'm doing? Do you think that's what I'm sitting around doing? What do you think I'm doing? Because no one ever says, people just take stupid cheap shots like this. And look, by the way, the person in your avatar looks a little bit enhanced. Hashtag hypocrite. But what do you think it is I'm doing? Just outline what you think my elaborate abusive steroid cycle is. I'd like to hear. I'd really like to hear. You're doping. What do you're doping? What am I training for the Olympics? Seriously, this is just a little bit silly. I'll await your glorious response, sir. I don't see it because it looks like this was just a silly hits and run. You got me. My secret abusive steroid cycle. It actually helped me. I'll tell you, when I turned 52 and ran 52 hours, it actually helped me. Like all the doping, that's what propelled my ability to run, right? That's why I'm able to. That's why I'm, lifting wise. That's why I was able to set a PR this week. Pin press. That's why I was able to do 245 by 10 by 10 on bench this week because of all the doping, and I've stayed healthy because of all the doping, all the massive amounts of human growth hormone. The truth is I've been very lucky, and I'm thankful that I've been very lucky. So anyway, thanks for your hypocritical avatar. Anytime you want to drop in and let me know, what you think I'm abusing, go right ahead. I've been honest about, I'm not going to sit here like one of these people. Like, I don't play the game Who's Natty or Not. We don't play that on this channel. I also don't, I don't play the game like life is some magic perfect journey, right? I took acid once when I was in college. I smoked pot a little bit at times when I was younger. What is this? At times when I was younger, I drank a little bit too much. So anyway, just enough of that. Let's move on. All right. So who is the girl talking in the back? Wait, I got to scroll to that one. Who is the girl talking in the back? Does your wife know you installed a cyber chick? Alexa, are you unplugged?
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can find setup instructions in the help section of your Alexa app.
This is going to sound really stupid, but when I moved here, I brought her down, and it aggravates my wife because I never connected it. All right, where are we going? Do we have anything else that can waste everybody's time? Do you have anything else you'd like to waste my time with or everybody else's time? Please let us know. I'd be curious to look at this account because they always know, they never have any lifting pictures. They're just always some chronic masturbator. Harris. It's not a coffee tea person. I'm not a coffee tea person, but as a source of energy, I want to try Monster. What's the best time to take it? Well, I would definitely probably hit it up before noon. I've been doing these lately, and I'm not sure if you have access to these, but this was a lot cheaper and it tastes less chemically. So if you get a chance, test that out. As far as the Monsters, they have a pink flavor, which is like Strawberry Dream. The purple flavor is good as well. So I would give both of those a try and let me know what you think. All right. Eric, how to pace yourself when you have the mentality that more is better. How to set a muscle stimulus but not destroy it. Well, if you aren't about 14 to 15 sets in and you don't feel like mentally you want to check out, mentally you feel done a little bit, there's a chance that you might not be training hard enough, right? Your training should obviously, we're not in the gym to punish our body and destroy our body. Obviously not. We want to train smart, but you should be training hard enough where you pretty much are done after an hour mentally, just done. Where you don't want to move on, where you don't want to go on. You've been training so hard. So if you're to the point where you can just keep going and going and going and going, there is a chance that you might not be training hard enough. You should be looking forward to your rest days a little bit. As long as your body's feeling good, you can do a little bit more volume. Like for me right now, I sit a lot for work. So I could train 5 or 6 days a week and I feel pretty recovered. A lot of this is highly personal, but we want to focus on training hard first and foremost, trying to maximize the exercises, and then from there, let's see, you can add volume if you feel you're recovering okay. So just for record, I'll let you guys know, this account was created today. Just joined today. So there's somebody that just created a random account just to troll. So if any of you guys are wondering, that's just all part of the YouTube world. Somebody has nothing better to do in between their chronic masturbation periods. So usually with people like that, they'll come back in a different format, a different form. But anyway, where we got Eric. Hold on a second. Let me just find. Let's see. Hold on a second. All right. What do you think about wearing strength shoes for calf growth? Not really. No. I don't think that's the golden ticket. I mean, you can play around with that if you want. I don't really think that's the golden ticket. I don't think that's the magic way forward. I think a lot of people, I mean, honestly, and I've talked about this in the past, how many people in the gym do you see, with a calf day, attacking calves like their life depends on it, attacking calves like they would attack bench? That has to be our first priority. That has to be our first, plan of attack. And if we can't, and I'm not saying you don't, Eric, because I don't know what you're doing, but that has to be our primary plan of attack over a long period of time. We need something that is sustainable. That's something we're going to be able to do for a long period of time. And doing something in the short run or a test, you can test something. Maybe you want to do it for 10 years. I don't know. I don't know anybody that's done it, but whatever we do, it needs to be sustainable and needs to be something that we can progressively overload. Sure, these could have the potential to add some benefit maybe to your jumping height. I don't know, but I would look basic. I would look first at the basics. Stein, good morning, Stein. How are you? Justin Jones. Good morning, big, hairy, ugly dude and team massive. Is there a way to pick up 2 heavy dumbbells from the floor that is safe for the back? Help me understand, right? I don't have any issues. I grab the dumbbells from the side. I kind of get my hips set, and I deadlift them as safely as I can. So maybe give me a little bit more information. I don't have any issue. I don't have any issues personally, but I've been lifting for 39 years. I have a strong back, so maybe you can I don't know. Grab the suckers. What exercise are you trying to do, by the way? Should we be able to lift more weight if each rep of shoulder press starts from a dead stop on pins? More weight, and I wouldn't say more weight. It's about the same for me. But I'm not in the game of speculation. I mean that respectfully. We're not trying to lift more weight. We're trying to lift more over last time. So you need to use a variation that works for you. And I say this respectfully. I don't care, right? We can generally use a little bit more weight on a front press seated than we can standing, just because we're stabilized. We have something against our back. Our lower back is braced. But I don't notice any difference starting the first rep on a pin compared to not setting it down. All right, back. Sabre Lala, it's been months. Thank you. Yvonne, good morning, Team Massive. What's going on, Yvonne? Bon dia. 10 by 10 bench, 135, 137, 140, but at 142 failed at set 9, rep 8. You add 2.5 pounds next time, and you move to 8 sets. That's just how you're going to progress. We're going to ride it through. We're going to see what there's going to be kind of a rapid rate of decay at some point in this program, but this is the massive BLT or bench press long-term program. I'm running it right now. I started at 225, 10 by 10. This week I hit 245 with 13 on the last set. Just follow the program. If you get 10 next time on your ace set, good. 11 on your 11 on that ace set, good. 12 on that ace set, good. Just run with it, man. See it through. Test your bench at the end. Let me know how much of a jump in your bench you get. Big Sam. Why do you get so many very well-informed natural lifters claim that bro splits held them back? I don't know. One thing we used to see back in the day, you know, a lot of this is just internet foolery. You'll see guys that'll be like, I added exercise X and experienced massive gains. Well, there's no data. You just liked the exercise or you had a better feel. That's fair. But always know on the internet when someone says they experienced massive gains, switching to something else, there might be a bigger picture. Frequency matters very little. So it's kind of a red flag. Maybe someone liked frequency training more. That's fair. That's very fair. When you're motivated, you're going to train harder. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things in every camp. And this is the value of expanding your horizons and listening to people like we just listened to Dr. Soto discuss the meta-analyses, multiples, that show frequency training doesn't inherently have any benefit, that we should focus on hard training, which is what I teach here on Massive Iron. So it's good to have a big pool of those that you follow, because I'm going to be honest here, and I'm going to swear, sometimes in the lifting world, we have a clusterfuck where everybody follows the same 4 to 5 people, and we don't step outside of that zone to see that there's a whole world of lifting that doesn't share all the opinions these guys do. So generally, when you see this, it's from a very narrow pool of guys that run in the same circle. Jonathan, morning, Steve. Maybe it's the algorithm, but I've been seeing a lot of videos where guys suddenly lose grip on bench and drop the bar. Yeah, that's got to be the algorithm. It is crazy that way. It seems to be getting more and more focused and more reactive to what you invest more than a second on social media. But look, I think one of the riskiest lifts in general is the bench press because of that opportunity. And when you get a spotter who is hyper, like just got to touch the bar, just got to get involved, I don't want you bumping that bar a little bit, because I'll tell you, somebody I've had up, I think the most I've had above my head was 550 pounds. Now that was with reverse bands and a slingshot or whatever. It's still a lot of weight that can come crashing down and kill you. And you don't want anybody touching that bar when they don't have to, unless you're in trouble. It gets scary. So there's a lot of layers here. I always bench with catch pins. I bench in my squat rack. I always have in commercial gyms, but most of the commercial gyms I've been to didn't have a lot of people squatting, so I would grab a squat rack. If a bench doesn't have catch pins and I have to bench in it and I can't bench in a squat rack, I get a spotter. I will tell the spotter very specifically, do not touch the bar unless it's buried on my chest, right? I don't want you touching it. I don't want you getting tweaky. I don't want you getting methy. I don't want you getting twitchy. I don't want you fingering things, right? We don't need to add that element of danger. A very dangerous lift, and one of the reasons why I don't like the I'm not going to say the S word because we don't want to trigger the algorithm, but the neutral grip without your thumbs over. Harris, what's the best birthday gift your students living in other continents give you? I have been super lucky, and I consider this a huge blessing that I have clients all over the world. Because I'm like everybody else. I grew up in my neighborhood, my world, my land, my thing. A small town in Wisconsin. It was what it was, right? I had Greeks next door. We had Polish next door. We had Mexicans next door. It was just a normal mix of American people, right? But being able to do this for a living, like when you look at another country, when you're fed information on another country, even if it's harmless, like my wife is Australian, but all the information we see in America and Australia is very, it's hyperbole. It's exaggerated, right? We kind of exaggerate the differences, not in a malicious way. But, we kind of, the shrimp on the Barbie thing and the whole crocodile Dundee, we exaggerate some of the differences. And then when you get to know the real culture, you really realize everybody's pretty much the same struggles, and a lot of their culture is exaggerated. So one of the wonderful things about coaching for me is that about 50% of my clients are outside the United States. I get clients from all over the world, literally, and I get to learn about other places and broaden my horizons, and it's a wonderful thing. I have clients from Singapore and Australia. I have clients from Japan, client living in China, clients from Russia, clients from South Africa, all over the Middle East, all over Europe, Canada, Mexico, South America. For some reason, the only real areas I don't see clients from are South America and Africa. Really, Russia and China are spots that kind of are black holes in the sense that there's not a lot of interaction. But everywhere else I have clients from. It's been a wonderful experience. And as far as your question, the best birthday gift is just being able to learn about each other and set aside stereotypes. There's a lot of stereotypes about Americans that exist elsewhere that are really exaggerated and not robust enough to really understand American culture. Why do Americans do this? So we get to exchange a little bit and learn from each other. And that's a good thing. Big Chris, good morning. Big Paul, good morning, Paul. Nolan, a client of mine. Nolan's one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Can you talk a bit about block pulls, stiff leg deadlifts, and hex bar deadlifts? So Nolan is in a place where we want to start rotating in a different variation from the floor deadlift every other week. This can be a really good idea once you built up a base amount of strength. So we debated like block pulls, stiff leg deadlifts, and hex bar deadlifts. Now, more and more in the last year to year and a half, I've become a really big fan of the stiff leg deadlift. I think it's a wonderful complement for somebody that wants to build up their bench. I think it teaches you to pull from a brace position. Basically, with a stiff leg deadlift, your hips are just slightly below your shoulders, and more of your weight is in front of the bar. So it's more lower back intense and less upper back intense, but it teaches you to brace and pull. You're going to be using less weight than a deadlift, but for that reason, it really teaches discipline. So I like that. Block pulls are completely different. A block pull, we don't want to pull really above our knee. We want to pull 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe maximum 7 inches off the ground. A block pull, you don't just pull up like a deadlift, because the starting leverage position is a little bit different. You want to think about pulling up and back when you pull on a block pull. So you want to think about leaning back and pulling back on a block pull. That's really critical. Generally, I find a lot of people are weaker off the ground on a block pull than they are off the floor. Off the floor, you have the big quads and the upper back really involved with initiating the pull. And most people tend to be a little bit stronger off the floor than the block. So I have really relied a lot over the years, alternating every other week, pulling off the floor. I believe this has been an integral part in me getting my deadlift close to 700, and when I was really large, over 700. Hex bar deadlifts, I'm going to tell you, if you do them alternating with conventional deadlifts, I want you to use the high handles, because the whole point of doing them is to get more upright, to take stress off the lower back for a week. So if you're going to do hex bars, I strongly recommend doing them off the ground, high handle. You're going to work your yoke. You're going to work your upper back. It's going to be a little bit less lower back centric, which is a good thing. So I hope that general overview helps a little bit. If you guys have any specific questions about any of these lifts, or you want me to get into more detail, go right ahead. We got a lot of questions today, guys. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. What keeps you motivated after seeing the gains to keep going for more? I've been lifting. I will be 57 this year. And what's my primary motivation? I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. Number one, I love coaching for a living. It's an amazing thing to be able to do this. Every day I wake up, and one of the things I do personally is I comb through my advice. I want to make sure I'm giving the best advice possible. So I'm always kind of self-monitoring what I talk about. Is there anything I said incorrectly? Anything I could have said better? Trust me, even after the lives, I'm looking back saying, what could I have done better? I want to keep coaching. I want to keep coaching. I want to still offer value to people. You know, I want to remain relevant in that sense. I just want to keep. I want to keep doing this. Plus, when I lift, I don't want to be weaker than I am. Right? It's not about competing against somebody else. I don't want to be weaker than I am. All right, live starts now. We got a couple of questions at the end I'm going to jump into here real quick. I don't normally move to questions at the end, but I got a couple interesting ones. I have Diet Mountain Dew right now. Let me take a break. I'm going to skidoo to one of the questions at the end. Picture of your prime physique. So I got a lot of pictures up on the old. Let me just pull something up here because I have to actually find photos. I can't just upload photos into this section. So where are we? Oh, this is an interesting one right here. All right. I'll show you a photo of when I was just pretty young in my muscle building journey compared to probably where I was at my prime. Sherry Screeney. All right, so the nerd, the turd, the little weasel on the left was me. Couple year and a half, whatever, into my lifting journey. You can tell I got long ape arms. I do really have long arms. You can see the chesticles, actually my triceps, from my elbow to my hand looks extremely unusually long, which kind of, I don't know. You can see I had dad calves even back then. But that was I looked like an ape with those long arms, but that was after 18 months of lifting. The one on the right is just one from my peak conditioning, probably after a shoulder pump. It always looked better, doing things after a shoulder pump. I posted yesterday. Let's just do that. We'll do that. This is me yesterday on my shoulder workout. Now, big shoulder pump. Obviously, I'm 20, 25 pounds heavier now. Interestingly enough, when we were running, we were slowly gaining weight, even though we were running 12 hours a week, because you have a tendency to eat a little bit more than you thought. That was me yesterday. I'm still, I'm working on lean out right now. I had a big juicy traps pump and front and side delt pump and all kinds of things. And do I look perfect? Nah, I don't look perfect, friends. I'm not going to lie. I don't look perfect. I'm not in perfect shape. But this, massive iron's never been about being perfect. It's always been about improving, taking steps forward, being your best self. And I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, being nearly 57 years old. Still getting people that think I'm taking massive amount of steroids. I say this over and over again for reference, and because I truly do wish you guys would go pick on Basement Bodybuilding and Bold Omni-Man and Jeffrey Verity Schofield for a change. But this picture is very deceiving. My arms, if I was at the same body fat percentage as Basement Bodybuilding or Jeffrey Verity Schofield, my arms would be at least an inch smaller. And I say this for reference because this picture makes it look like I would dwarf them. And I will say that's part of the illusion of bodybuilding. With my small bones, you can kind of tell my wrist compared to my wrist makes my hand look like a big old whatever, right? I do have small bones naturally, and it's difficult to understand, but there's a lot of the way my triceps are shaped. I've really worked hard on my delts. I think I've just absolutely been obsessed with my traps, and I think to the point where I've been 10 times more obsessed with my traps than my biceps over the years. I'm doing pretty good. That's where I'm at right now. There's about a 10-year difference, 9-year difference in the photos. The one I showed you previously when I was at my peak shape, you can see almost a bicep vein in the left arm, but you can tell I'm obviously 20 pounds heavier. So, all right, where are we at? Oops, we're going to go back to the top. Barbell Beauty, happy Friday. Team Massive. Jordan, when to hire a coach training on my own? There are many good coaches out there, and what I'm about to say, I want to frame because I don't want anybody just to think, he's just saying this, to pick up coaching clients. My coaching business stays pretty full. And I do mention it occasionally on social media and on here because I want to work with good people, right? And there's always one or two going a month. It's just part of the way coaching business is. But I just want to say my coaching business stays pretty full, and I'm very blessed because of that. So what I'm about to say isn't, like, hey, coaching is all great. Pick me, that sort of thing. I'm saying this for anybody that's serious, whether it's me or a different coach, or maybe you want to try a different couple coaches over the coming years. You want to make sure that your coach is a good fit for you. I'm not the right fit for everybody. I am very focused on form. So when you work with me, we're going to do a lot of form videos. I'm going to ask you for your seated cable rows. I'm going to ask you for your squats. We're going to look at little things. We're going to try to dial in little things. I check in every day. Most coaches check in once a week via email. But you want to coach, however a coach checks in, you want a coach that's going to communicate with you where and how you want to communicate, right? I like to stay on top of things. I like to do accountability. I like to say what your workout was yesterday, look at your questions. I think if you get a coach that doesn't know form, this is just my opinion, you are getting somebody with a big hole in how they can help you, because people can learn programming and they can give you a program, but I can show you a road, but to drive that road from point A to point B efficiently and effectively and as fast as possible and safely as possible, that's a different story. And that's where you get things like exercise form. There are a lot of coaches out there that will just give you cookie cutter stuff. I don't do that. Everything I do is based on you, your unique injury history, your equipment, your preferences. We don't push splits. We don't push exercises. Ask any of my clients. Everything's very nuanced. But I think if you find a good coach, you should do it. I charge only $89 after the first month because I coach for a living. So there are some folks out there that only coach 5 or 6 people at a time, which is fine. Not everybody wants to coach for a living, and they charge a lot more. Understand, there's a chance you're going to get involved with one of these coaches that charges a lot more, and it might not be a good fit for you. So make sure you do your research on how they coach and it's a fit for you. The right coach will be invaluable. You will either fortify your training, you'll learn some new things about training, you'll learn some new things about yourself, you'll learn how to monitor things, you'll learn how to improve your exercises, you'll learn how to improve your consistency. If you're serious about lifting, you should get a coach. If you're serious about anything, you should get a coach. We live in a wonderful age as far as coaching. If you're a painter and you want to be good at painting, get a painting coach, right? I mean, I would toss seriously. I've had a running coach. I was a crappy runner, a slow runner, but I got one of the best running coaches in the world, because I wanted to learn, right? I wanted to learn some things. I knew I would never be a 170-pound, 100-mile ultra runner, but I wanted to learn from the best, right? So I think there's so many things in our life that takes our money in lifting, all the supplements and all the things and the app fees. But I think most of you should just consider dumping all those for at least 3 months and finding a good coach. And if any of you guys would like to work with me, I'd love to work with you, especially, if you are ready to roll. Jordan Myers, how to go about injury recovery. Very broad topic and hard to cover everything, but the biggest thing when it comes to injury recovery is you have to dance the dance you're given. Don't try to rush it. If anything, take a little bit longer than you want to recover. You have to understand you can only do what you can do. Repeat, You can only do what you can do. Do what you can do safely and do it hard. If that forces you to do a specialization program, let's say you can't train legs for a season, whatever, you got to be about that, right? You got to understand the fight you can fight and fight the fight you can fight. And do the exercises you can do. Maybe try some new exercises. When, let's say you have an elbow issue from a triceps exercise, know that there might be 4 or 5 other different triceps exercises out there you could actually do. Don't be afraid to play around a little bit. I'm going to skip from Jordan to the last question. Have you ever thought about having children? I have 8 no, I have between me and Fiona, we have 9 grandchildren. I have 2 daughters. She has 2 daughters, and we have 9 total grandchildren. Because what is the point of existence without them? I have 9 grandchildren. Thank you. All right, where are we at? Good morning, Ernie, client of mine. Jordan, when to incorporate deloads? I have a couple really good videos on deloads. I would ask you to go over to my main channel and just search deload, and you're going to get a lot of really good information. If you have trouble regulating fatigue, the first thing I would want to do is look at what you're doing currently. Are you doing too much? Could we kind of compress what you're doing a little bit or streamline it? How's your sleep? How's your diet? The biggest things that are going to impact you right now that we have to look at first is, are you trying to do too much, and are you inconsistent with your diet? We have to look at that first. We also have to look at exercise form. Your exercise form could be beating you up on things like squats and Romanian deadlifts and deadlifts and whatnot. So the deload issue is important, but we also have to look at the other factors that can cause us to feel beaten up or fatigued. Does that make sense? So we have to fix those things. And then if we still need extra time off, maybe work in a couple extra rest days every 3 weeks and insert more rest days. That's the first thing you would start rather than just adding in a deload. We might want to add in more rest days per week. So Jordan, I highly encourage you to join Team Massive, the Discord server. Post up some information. Come ask me some questions. Allow me to help. Allow me to comb through things a little bit. Because this is something, that this is kind of that territory in a question where you need somebody with an experienced eye to look through what you're doing and to guide you, if that makes sense. Big Jones of Justinville. Did you see Dr. Mike's dumbbell curl variation where he lies flat on a bench? I'm going to be honest. I've been around the block so many times. I've seen every make, model, and whatever of car. I've seen it all. You can lie on your bench and curl up. Hey, if that works for you, do it. Is it magic? No. We have to be really careful when we get into the new exercise stuff, because if you're going to put out a video on a new exercise, it makes sense to give it a little bit of hype, right? A little bit of extra shine. We have to watch that really, really closely. So what I'm saying is that it could be a good exercise. Try it. Don't feel compelled to dump something else. So that's pretty much true on any exercise. Big Mitchell McDouglas says training for looks only is okay. Anything you train for the reason why you want to train. Most of us want to look better. So Mike at one point was more into the powerlifting thing. Mike trains for self-defense as well. You do you. Life is about you, my friend. This is your journey. There's no shame in training for whatever reason you want. You might want to train for looks right now when you're young, so you can kind of, maximize your young years. And as you get older, things might change. You might train more for health, or maybe like me, you took a detour after 20 years in strength for 10 years. Shelly, client of mine, good to see you, Shelly. Thank you for tuning in. Big Lee Dowling. Big Steve playing Stoke tonight. What are your thoughts on specialty bars for home gyms? As last gym I went to, one guy asked if I'd unalive his ex, and the owner think they're lying about the earth size. Let me unpack this a little bit. We got a lot to unpack. What are your thoughts on specialty bars for home gyms? So I love the safety squat bar. If I had to go back in time to when I started originally, I would use a safety squat bar almost exclusively just to relieve some pressure off my shoulders. I think it's a good tool. I love the hex bar. You can get them super duper cheap. I think at Walmart at one point I got mine for 99 buckarooskies. So I would definitely have that around the home gym. You can do things like neutral grip Romanian with a hex bar. You can do Pendley rows with a hex bar. Things like that. So got to have an easy bar. I love the easy bar. I have one for my Olympic weights and standard plates. Got to have an easy bar. Those would be the three that I would say, please. Big Carl, how's it going, Carl? The frog of horniness. How many warm-up sets do you recommend before a compound lift? All right, so on this channel, go to the main page and search warm-up. There's a video I did that has a PDF that outlines your specific warm-up sets for every weight on a compound lift. If you can't see that, I'll walk you through it, okay? Hold on. I'll actually show you the specific video, so hold on. Any of you guys that are curious, let me just mute things because I don't want ads coming up on this. So I'm going to do the old present the screen-a-rooski thing, the old screen-a-rooski trick. Now you're going to go to the home page, and you're going to do search, and you're going to do warm. We'll do up, okay? How to properly warm up for big compound movements. Now remember that title, okay? How to warm up. Let me just pause. Let me just let this run through the commercial with Mr. Brady. Da-da-da-da. I want to show you because this has a PDF chart. You see how to warm up properly for big compound movements, complete guide and PDF chart. There I am, looking glorious. This video has the complete chart. Okay. Here's the chart at the end. It shows you how to warm up your warm-up sets forever. If you want a hard copy of this, you can go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, search warm up, and there's a PDF you can download. If you want to put a couple bucks in my pocket, if you want to buy me a beer this weekend, the PDF's available for purchase. If not, go to this video, how to warm up properly for big compound movements, PDF chart. It's all in the video, absolutely explained in the video. Nearly everything I sell on my website, superlivingtoday.com, I give away for free on this channel. I've always tried to do that. Doesn't make me a superstar, doesn't make me a super stud, but I'm just letting you know anytime you guys want to support me, buy one of these things, I appreciate it. What do you think of Smith bent rows as a substitute if lower back is strained? Yeah, absolutely. Anything that has a reasonable progression opportunity, you can use. If you have a lower back strain, we have to then analyze what exercises we can do that don't aggravate the lower back. It might not be your ride for the next 10 years, right? It might just be a temporary ride, so to speak, but go ahead and do it. Big Lee, thoughts on Mr. Nipple's study? We went over that a little bit earlier. I hope you had a chance to see it. Let me know if you have any questions. But for those of you guys watching this now, that's what I went into looking at Dr. Soto, a neutral perspective, which showed that study doesn't show any advantage to anything. What's going on? Steve, what is your take on the new study? Oh, I already did that. That's what we talked about earlier, and I hope you guys get a chance to dive through that, and I hope it was beneficial. Big Milan Vlach from the country of Gainesistan. What are your thoughts on kettlebells? Love them. Got a kettlebell heel. Honestly, what I wish I had was more time to play around with kettlebells. I have friends that do it. I'm amazed at the things they can do. I would love to be able to do it as general strength and conditioning add-on work. I really would. I'm still all about the dumbbells and the barbells and the massive iron and the big juicy chesticles. Right? I'm still about power building. So yeah, I mean, I love them. I'm no wizard. I couldn't replace barbells and dumbbells with them. Did I say the word power building? Is power building still dead? We were talking about on Team Massive how remember that week when everybody made 852 videos on how power building was dead or power building a thing. Power building's still alive, kids. Still doing it. Still doing it. All right, big David Hardiman. Steve, I tried barbell rows today for the first time and I instantly fell in love with the move. Good. I'm glad you had a good connection. Have you ever experienced this and what was it? Sometimes that's the value of trying different variations. You might think that one exercise variation, it's just going to be the same old, same old. Like, let's say you tried Yates rows tomorrow and you're like, these are not for me. You just never know what you're going to connect with mentally or physically. It's like, I don't rush out to try a lot of new things, but I did play around with like stiff leg deadlifts in the last year. Absolutely love them. I love the feel. I love them more than I ever loved Romanian deadlifts. Not that I didn't ride the Romanian deadlift train hard. Your opinion on deficit rows. What would you say is your least favorite row variation? So deficit rows only have a place if they make sense. If you're getting good elbow drive on a pendlay row, regular row, and you're getting a reasonable amount of, when you're doing a slight upper back stretch before you pull on a row, and we do want a slight upper back stretch. We want to pull from kind of a loaded stretch position. One of my big things when it comes to back training. If you're getting a mild degree of, we don't want to overstretch the back to the point where we're really working the connective tissue in the back in weird ways. But if you're getting a normal amount of back stretch before you drive, you're fine. There's no reason to push it lower. All you're going to end up doing is probably placing more stress on your lower back. Does that make sense? What would you say your least favorite row? For me, it's the standing barbell row. I love the pendlay row. I love the dead stop position. It feels better on my lower back. Not everybody feels like that. I understand it. But for me, my least favorite row is definitely the standing barbell row. The smasher of all things super. We're not going to touch that. We're not going to even talk about what you're smashing. Back and leg training is most savage. There is no love in it. You'll have nightmares all night the day before training. David Hardiman, just wait for the weight to go in advanced levels. A lot to unpack there, but you're right. Leg and back training are truly something that you need to learn to love if you want a big, well-rounded physique. Ice Cold Tristan 2.0. Yo, big, hairy, ugly dude. Can pause benching help with reducing the bounce? Absolutely. There's a lot of hype and confusion over pause benching and squats for that matter. If you're a dive bomber on your squats, meaning you just, elevator down really quickly, or a dive bomber on your bench, The biggest benefit of a pause bench is it can teach control. And that more than anything is the primary reason to mess around with it, especially if you are a dive bomber. You are nothing but a dreamer. Can you still make newbie gains if you've lifted consistently for 2 years? You can, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to explain this. We just got to get the old cupperoo. All right, this is your cup of gains, okay? This is your can of gains. This is whatever you want to call it. This is the amount of gains you can build over the course of your life. About every coming year, you have the potential to gain half of your remaining gains. This isn't a carved in stone rule. This is a generalization, but it's a realistic one. So let's say this is the gains you have over the course of your life. You have the potential your first year of training to gain about half of that. And then your second year, about half of that. Your third year, about half of that. Okay. So let's say your first couple of years of training, you dick around and don't make any progress. This is what you have left after 2 years of training. You still have the potential to gain about half of that. Does that make sense? So you absolutely have potential to make a lot of progress if you haven't made good progress yet. Desert Jack. I got to tell you a story. There are some words that bother each of us, right? Like some words that we forget the spelling or we're trying to figure out or remember. Like for whatever reason, desert and dessert used to mess me up. Just caused me to pause, right? But the way I always remembered it, this little mnemonic device or whatever they call it, dessert has one S, or desert has one S. Dessert has two S's. I want to eat more dessert, so I have more S's. Does that make sense? That's always how I figured out how to. That's how my pea brain remembered the difference between desert and dessert. Best creatine supplement without all the fillers currently. There's a lot of good creatine supplements out there. Don't fall for any magical variations. Go with a reputable brand. All you need is creatine. I'm detached from all the current hot brands, but that's my best advice. Big Mitch. Steve, I hope you're doing well. Thank you, sir. How much do you think seed oils and processed ingredients in many American foods play into the increase in chronic and metabolic disease? That's a really good question and a very hot topic. So I will say my general opinion is that it's best to look at things in totality. How many processed ingredients, added ingredients, seed oils, processed sugar, processed flour, crap, junk are you getting on a weekly basis, right? We could be reactionary like some of these people and be like, never eat seed oil, you're going to die, right? Never drink Diet Coke, you're going to never drink Diet Mountain Dew, you're going to die. Because of, what we got? What's the sweetener in it? Because of phenylalanine or potassium benzoate or whatever. Never have an energy drink, you're going to die. Never have seed oil, you're going to die. Never have a cookie, you're going to die. I think from a balance standpoint, whether you want to do this or you don't, that's completely up to you. But we have to look at the overall cumulative impact of what we're eating on a weekly basis. If somebody's taking in a lot of additives, preservatives, white sugar, white flour, a lot of things with a lot of things, you're putting you might not necessarily, you might have a 70-30 diet where 70% of your food is real food and 30% is junk. But that 30% might be really rich in added ingredients or sugar or flour. And it could cause a lot of potential detrimental health issues, major or minor, from chronic inflammation to playing into metabolic conditions, all kinds of things. Especially in this day and age where we are at the cutting edge of food science, and God knows all the stuff that can go into even a pure protein drink, right? You pick up anything and it seems rather harmless, and you're like, whoa, look at all those ingredients. What is all this, right? I think we have to be very mindful. And I'm not telling you guys to live like saints. I think if you're taking care of yourself, there's definitely, it used to be 80-20. I used to say live an 80-20 life. But more and more I get into it when it comes to processed ingredients. I think I've been raising the bar a little bit. Just be wise, be balanced. I know that when I even allow, at my age, when I allow a little bit of Doritos in the door or whatever, I feel it the next day. Like, I love pizza once a month. I'm not going to lie. We had pizza night the other night. Wife was up late. We had pizza. And the next day I felt like I had a hangover. Just overkill. It can be overkill from too much sodium as well. So I think we have to be wiser and smarter. And here's a general thing to think about. The crazier the world gets, probably the more mindful we need to get. Because people all of a sudden are gaining weight at an exponential level. And we're seeing health conditions grow at an exponential level. So we should probably react in an equal but opposite way, a little bit more cautious, because something is going on in the food. Food's becoming more hyperpalatable, harder to resist everywhere. So you can certainly have fun. You can drink your alcoholic drink. You can have your small bag of Doritos, but let's just try to be very, treat that like danger. We don't want to overconsume it. Cam, thank you for the videos. Thank you for tuning in. Ice Cold Tristan 2.0. Today I hit 285 on RDLs wow, that's a lot of RDL work. Good job. A few days ago, I did a heavy triple on squats with 285. That's really good work, man. That's very strong RDL work. Wasn't sure if you had a follow-up question, but it's getting harder to progress with barbell rows. Yeah, absolutely. Pendley I love, because pendley row, you get to set the weight down, you get to brace, and then you get to pull, right? I absolutely love pendley rows. I feel, because I'm pulling from a position off the ground, that I can generate more power and get a better feel. Whereas with hanging the bar and not setting it down, I feel a lot of it is, I don't feel I can get the same amount of power, just me personally, and I don't feel I can get the same amount of feel. Soy sauce banana. Let me get a drink here. Do you ever refuse? I've been coaching for a long time now. And I've had a lot of unique experiences. Do I ever refuse clients based on their habits? If a client is willing to find a way, like leaves a door open, then I will work with it. Do you have to track calories? No. But if you want to build muscle, the scale needs to do what the scale needs to do. So even if you don't want to track calories, if I tell you we need to add 200 more calories of food, we understand what that means. So we do it or we don't do it. So I will meet a client where they're at. Not everybody wants to track calories. I'm not going to refuse. The only way I would refuse somebody is if they did this. Hey, I want to get massive, but I want to do it my way. I don't like your methods. I want to use this method. I'm only going to eat this. Like, if somebody wants to train themselves, then I'll tell them no. I'm sorry. I'm not a good fit. If somebody wants to use a program from a different coach, then I'll say, no, I don't do that. I coach my way. So It's not like I'm trying to be an a-hole, but if somebody comes to me for coaching, they have to be coachable, right? I want to lose weight, but I'm not going to change any of my eating habits. Well, I will tell them on the phone call, you're not going to lose weight then. How can you think you're going to lose weight if you're not changing any eating habits? I will tell them politely. And then I will ask them, if this were the case, and you have somebody in your life that wants to lose weight but doesn't want to change any of their eating habits, then the obvious question would be, in politeness and respect, if you're not going to change anything, how do you expect the result to be different? How do you expect that the result is going to be different? So yeah, you have to have a little bit of that. But I think I've had to get rid of 2 clients in the many, many years, mainly because they wanted me to coach them. They wanted to coach themselves, and I knew it was not going to work. Big Cosmic Bear. During my bulky wokey, I was doing 5 rep sets on big compounds. Now that I'm a cut, I feel weaker. You gotta get away from that a little bit, because you're gonna have less glycogen in your muscles, less energy, less stuff going on. We have to be really, really careful about training too heavy during a cut. You're not going to lose strength during a cut, but it is a time to be a little bit more safe. So I generally I wouldn't go below 6-7 reps. Play it safe, like on a squat. Deadlift, 5 to 6 would be okay, as long as it's not relatively heavy. You just have to be reasonable. You don't want to be doing multiple sets of 5s, if that makes sense. If you want me to look at your program, don't hesitate to send it my way on the Massive Iron Discord. Nobody, the big nobody. Hello, do you believe that supplement brands matter? I do believe supplement brands matter. I worked as an editorial director and content developer in the supplement industry for quite a long time, over 10 years. I was not a supplement guy, but I did their website work, their article development. I seen things go on behind the scenes. One major protein powder, we found out that they only had 12 grams per scoop. One company, retailer, dumped it all in the garbage. The other kept selling it. Like, there are a wide variety of ethics in this industry. There can be a wide variety of crap put in, a wide variety of ingredient qualities. So it can absolutely matter. It can absolutely matter. Big Ian K. With work, school, hard to get more than 6 hours of sleep. Yeah, man. Do not stay in limbo. If you are building, if you are training hard, the body will respond. It will. You don't need to be optimal. You don't need to have optimal sleep. When should you add or remove? When should you add a set or remove sets? That's going to be by feel. Let's say you're in the gym and 3 sets of deadlifts are taking forever. So you decide, I'm going to cut back to 2. Just to save a little bit of time. That's evolving training based on needs. Or you're in the gym and I like pendlay rows and I want to do another set of 6s and go from 3x6 to 4x6. You can do so. As long as changes are reasonable, as long as your weekly body part volume is reasonable, you can make small little changes based on preferences. Does that make sense? If you are feeling good on a particular day, should you throw in some extra sets? What I typically do is maybe throw in a finisher. Sometimes if I'm feeling good on the 3rd or 4th exercise and I want to throw in like an extra set of lat pull downs or seated cable rows, you certainly can. Just make sure you hit your progression sets normally and then add in some bonus work or finisher work. When should you change programs? There's no urgent need to change programs. You could literally run a program for 10 years if you want to, because programs are just comprised of exercises. We're basically using the same exercises. We're not doing a wholesale changing of exercises. So, as far as that goes, there's no urgent need to change programs. With that said, when we are doing a new phase, 3, 4, 5 month phase of muscle building, and you want to start a new phase, sometimes that's a good time to change approach. You could do a little bit, you could drop to 2 sets per exercise, maybe do a rest pause program, maybe do a bench specialization program. So that's really a good time when you're done with a bulking phase, if that makes sense. Any advice on deadlift stance width? You want to be pretty normal. You don't want to be wide. You don't want to have a tweener stance. You just want to be natural and fairly reasonably close. If you push your legs out, when you push your legs out, your grip has to move out like this. See what my elbow is doing here? As your grip moves out like this, it pulls your torso lower to the ground. So you want to have your arms inside of your legs. You don't want to do a tweener stance where your legs are like this and your arms are out like this and you're pulled onto the ground. That's why you would do sumo, so you could switch to where your arms are between your legs. Squat stance width. I have a couple of videos on this channel. Basically, I want you to stand up and I want you to get yourself in a position like somebody's running at you and you're going to brace yourself. Just put your arms and your legs in a natural position. That's about where your squat stance width should start. You're standing up, somebody's running at you, you're going to brace yourself like you're playing football. Your feet will naturally go where they want to go. They're not going to go super wide. They're not going to be in like this because nobody braces themselves like that. Does that make sense? Big Brahm. Do you ever train after cocaine? No, not yet. That's on the to-do list. Just joking. It's very interesting because the feeling isn't like you're immortal. No cocaine. We joke about it at Team Massive being the name of our new pre-workout, but no cocaine for me. But then you can't get out of bed the next day. Well, we did the kettlebells. What to do if you start working out and feel like crap? There's that word feeling. Say, for example, back staying, you still feel sore. You do what you can. You have to reasonably adjust, right? So if you're sore from other body parts, I just do my normal warm-up sets. If it's debilitating to the point where I can't complete a normal workout, then you probably should go home and rest. Other than that, I just kind of build up through my warm-up sets, do what I can do, and adjust if needed. I generally don't stop a workout if I'm sore in another area. PS5, Xbox Series X. What's your thoughts? Bent over rows on top the edge of bench, reach to stretch further away from your body. You don't need to overstretch because that can put the connective tissue in your upper back in kind of a perilous, awkward position. You do want to get a minor upper back stretch. Does that make sense? Big Billy Baker. Following up on Nolan's question, can you show a video of a stiff leg deadlift with a solid form? Let me see if I can find one really, really quickly. Hold on. There are a lot, but I got to make sure there's no stuff. Okay. So that's almost it, but his hips are. Just give me a second. Don't go anywhere. It can be hard to find somebody that knows how to do it properly. So let me mute this, unmute. She's doing it, but Her hips are too high. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this video for reference. Her hips are a little bit too high, but we'll walk through that. I have no idea who this is. So to be fair, it definitely is a stiff leg deadlift, but she's taking, okay. So we're going to watch this young lady. Notice her feet are under the bar normally like a deadlift. And on a deadlift, you want to get your hips seated so the center of your shoulder is just a hair in front of the center of the bar. On a stiff leg deadlift, you're not worried about that. You want to have your hips slightly below your shoulders. Now you notice here, her hips are parallel with her shoulders. That's too high. We want to have the hips down just a little bit. Watch how she performs this. See how she braces though. Watch. She braces good. Brace, pull. Okay, watch. Brace, pull. You can see her visibly bracing. Brace, pull. The problem is her hips are too high. Get your hips down a couple more inches right below your shoulders. See how her hips are right at her shoulders? You want them to be a little bit lower. I'm scared to look at other videos. This is one by, let's just wait for Alan's commercials to roll by. And let's just see his technique. Hold on one second. This is a video I often reference to clients. Oh, we got to go through another commercial. They're just getting worse, aren't they? Okay, talkie-walkie time. Okay, let's just see here. See Alan on the left. See how his hips are slightly below his shoulders and not parallel? That's a stiff leg deadlift. He's doing the same thing as the woman in the previous video, but his hips are slightly below his shoulders. Brace, pull. Watch the video on the left. Brace, pull. See how the hips are slightly below? Let's see. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any further questions, just toss them up on Team Massive and I'll get to them. Ta-da! RFGT Gamer, neck and forearm training, how to really do it to have the huge neck. The thing is, you really don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Anything you do that involves a goal of size, you're going to have to do for a very long period of time, meaning you're going to have to progressively overload for 5 to 10 years. A lot of people want to do neck and forearm training and just magically add something in and think their neck's going to grow. Like your neck and forearms are pretty much going to grow just from regular training. You really don't have to add anything in. And I know that's scandalous to some, but it's the truth. If you want to add some forearm training, wrist rollers, that's good. I don't really think you need to add in neck training. Your neck's going to get big from normal work. Plus, you have to understand the sleep apnea equation. When your neck gets to about 17 inches, all that extra pressure, whether it's fat or muscle, is going to contribute to sleep apnea. And you're going to get a big enough neck as it is. Steve, hitting 1 rep max dead, 1 day deload, 1 day deadlift plus 10 can be productive. No, that's not the way to build strength. That's a good way. The deadlift can take more than it gives. So that's a good way to destroy your lower back and not get a lot out of your training. That's not how you want for meat and potatoes deadlift training. Generally, and these aren't rules, these are general starting points. I recommend no more than 25 deadlift reps on average per week. That's really all you need. You don't need to overwork the deadlift. And, once you get a reasonable amount of strength pulling off the ground every other week. Fernando, I try to do 9 to 12 sets per week per muscle. Good. Split into 2 workouts. Sometimes it feels like very little work per day. The only thing I could say is if you're doing 9 to 12 sets per muscle group, that's going to be over 70 sets per week. Are you pushing them all hard? Are they junk volume? Do you have a progression indicator? I would need to know more, but you need to make sure you're pushing at least one set to the limit. If you do so, these are going to start to feel super challenging. Where are we at? Favorite energy drink of all time. We have a new favorite. The Blue Raspberry Prime. That was only $1 a can, no chemical taste. How important is mobility? You don't need to do any mobility unless your goal is mobility. I don't care about mobility. I don't need to be mobile. I don't really want to be mobile. There's no need to be mobile. Unless you want to be mobile. There's no benefit being mobile. Really, I mean, unless you're super immobile. I'm not a mobility guy. I don't care about mobility. I'm a strength and muscle guy. Don't hate me. If you're feeling like you're too immobile for your life goals and personal goals, then by all means. Okay. I've been bulking every lift going up except for overhead presses. Well, you can't expect to add plus ones every week. I need to know more information. What's your overhead press now? Show me your last 4 overhead press workouts, meaning weight, set, and reps. And how much weight have you gained in the last 2 months? Jonathan, is there a time and place for the hammer strength? Yeah, you can use a neutral grip bench. You can use it every week, every other week. Not going to be any detriment as long as you control it. With the bench press, you're forced in that, fixed position. Elbows kind of have to lock in to accommodate that position. The hammer strength or more neutral strength you can have, or more neutral position, a little bit more neutral on the shoulder. So you can certainly use it as long as you're getting a good chest feel. From your experience, okay, I'm going to post something up here. So hold on, because I get this a lot. And it's absolute nonsense. There's nothing to support hair loss and creatine. So I'm going to default to ChatGPT, and I'm going to present share screen because I can tell you until I'm blue in the face that there's no tie-in between creatine and hair loss, but people always want to believe like the creatine supplement has been a topic of concern for some people regarding hair loss, but there's currently no solid scientific direct linking. The concern comes from a 2009 study, one study, that was probably elevated by a couple of YouTubers or fitness goofs, that showed increased levels of dihydrotestosterone, DHT, a hormone associated with hair loss, in rugby players after creatine. However, the study had limitations, had no further research that confirmed its findings. I've never seen it, never heard of it, and it was just one study. It's never been repeated. Nothing to worry about. My question got the axe from YouTube. Sorry. My home gym contains power rack, barbell, adjustable bench, 2 dumbbells, easy bars, low cost, cable station. You can get like one that's detached from the wall to do lat pull downs, cable tricep extensions. Those 2 alone are probably going to cost you $400 combined. I'll probably get those 2 next. All right, what do we got here? I've seen a video online where Tom Platz mentioned that squatting at least till and slightly below parallel is good for most people. Yeah, you have to go to parallel. If you're going to be above parallel, it can place some shear stress on the knees. So we don't have to worry about arbitrary astergrass, which oftentimes chews up the lower back because of butt wink. But we do need to be going to parallel. Most people that can't go to parallel have some form of a form issue that they need to fix. Kudos to Big Hairy Ugly Dude and T-Massive. Thank you, sir. I have about 6 questions left, guys. So if you have any questions, get them in now. We're about 2 hours. If not, we will be hopping off. Is it better to squat barefoot? I'm not a big fan of slippery, slimy, perspirating feet. I don't like that at all. It's a mental tick. I don't have any problem with foot stability. Knee cave going down is technique. It's not. Knee cave is lack of discipline and technique. It's not going to be related to shoe choice. It's all technique driven. Does that make sense? People get hesitant. They push their knees in. They're putting inward pressure with their knees, as opposed to like pushing their glutes forward and getting outward pressure. Does that make sense? Big Rhyme. Do you ever perform? Nah, I tried it once. If it's, man, it's like trying to skateboard in outer space to me. It ain't going to work. It just doesn't feel good to me. I think there's a lot of hype around this lift. A couple of people can do it and do it well. I think most of us can't. Just don't live in a place of regret and mourning if you can't do it, because it's a fringe lift. That doesn't mean it's a bad lift. If you can do it and you find value in it, use it. But don't buy into the hype. Does frequency not matter? No, it does not matter. Hard training matters. Anybody that there are a lot of influencers that push the same old story that frequency matters, but it doesn't. Back in the day when I first got into lifting, people would laugh at you for using frequency because all the bodybuilders were using body part splits. That's just how things have changed. But we have selective memory. A lot of guys just don't know because they didn't live in that generation. Not only that, but the modern meta-analyses show that what matters is hard training, not frequency. So don't get caught up in that. Hold on one second. All right. Dominic. Hey, did you ever try BTN press? Yeah, I did BTN press the first 20 years of lifting. I got a 315 BTN. But when I do BTN, I only go to the bottom of my ear. Okay, you want to have your wrists above your elbows on BTN. You don't have to go all the way down. That can place a lot of stress on your shoulders, plus you can get loose. I'm a big fan of lowering it right here to the bottom of the earlobe. I used one of your suggestions to move back exercises to leg day, and it made a big difference. Good, man. But your upper body work is getting too long. Probably going to have to make some adjustments. I mean, there's only so many workouts in you have during the week. So we want to try to cram everything we can into it. But at some point, something's going to need to, be adjusted. So if you need me to look at that, I'd be happy to. Don't hesitate to join the Team Massive Discord server. My gym doesn't have 2.5-pound plates and only goes down to 5-pound plates. And I feel like it's a bit harder to overload. Yeah, that can be. What you can do is just when it's time to move up in weight, just move the top set up in weight and then keep the other two at the slightly lower weight. And then when the top set rises up in reps, then you can bump the others. That's just kind of, you're going to have to find a way to overload. Eventually your reps are going to dip, but it's all a matter of your reps not dipping too much. If you need more help, don't hesitate to send me some workout reports so I can look at them. What are your thoughts on the sled and prowler? Just conditioning work. It's all right for conditioning work, sports training work. I live in a hypertrophy and muscle building world. So if you want to do any fancy schmancy boy stuff after you're done doing the strength, like the real man stuff, the real man and woman stuff, right? You can do that. I'm just being silly, but that's just conditioning work. Do it if you like to do it. Big Justin Jones. I hate it when I lose rep count in the middle of a set. Yeah, all the time, man. You'd be like 3, 4. Was that 3? Was that 4? 5? Was that 4? Yeah, I do it all the time, man. All the time. Lost in effort. I've heard the term super mega day several times. Is this a term in the massive iron world? Man, I just make up a lot of stuff. I don't know that I've ever said mega. Someone check the rule book. I think Drew might be hearing things. Do you have a percentage-based sub-max strength building program? I don't do percentages. I'm not saying you can't use them to build strength. I'm not a percentage guy. Doesn't do anything for me. It's just not the way I program. All right, guys, that's it. I appreciate you joining me. 2 hours in, all the questions done. Please, if you need a custom workout, head over here to superlivingtoday.com, search custom. Please check out the coaching tab. I coach for a living. I'd love to work with you if you just have questions about it. My new book, Massive Omnibus. You can head here and search Omnibus. I have 6 books total so far. And all kinds of stuff. So anyway, head over to Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. And Ian, how do you incorporate cardio? You want to try to get probably about an hour a week of cardio, just something that you like to do, swimming, running, and extreme acts of sexual activity. Have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.
It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.